weeks left.
Tonight from Rupp Arena in Lexington, Kentucky, the Wildcats, the number 8 team in the country, welcome the Troy Trojans to one of the best home courts in all of college basketball. Welcome, everybody. Tom Hart alongside Jimmy Dykes. Stormy Bonatoni is with us as well. Well, from a youth to talent level, Kentucky may be off the charts. They are very young, and they're also very good.
Yeah, and they're also led right now by a very good player in Kevin Knox. He's leading Kentucky right now in scoring and rebounding, and John Calipari wants more from Kevin Knox. More offensive rebounds, more energy on the defensive end, more time sprinting up and down the court. And this is a young man that oozes with talent. Keep your eyes on his development as a player within this game. The good ones get better game to game. Keys to the game, a couple of things to keep an eye on right now for Troy. They need at least 30 points from the three-point line. They're capable of doing it, Tom. They're launching about 28 three-point shots per game, and they must get defensive rebounds against this big Kentucky team. For Kentucky, chase Wesley Person all night. He's shooting 9 or 10 three-point shots per game. You got to limit his looks and force tough twos from Jordan Vernado. This is a kid that's a mid-major nightmare at 6'6", can really cause problems operating in that mid-post.
Here's a look at Troy's starters. Couple of familiar SEC names. You heard Vernado in there as well, and Wesley Person, their slinger from downtown, who Jimmy talked about. Meanwhile, a freshman 5 for Kentucky, including Quade Green, who will run the point, along with Hamidou Diallo in the backcourt. Knox, Washington, and Richards round out John Calipari's starters. Ready to go from Rupp, first ever meeting between Troy and Kentucky. Cats control the tip. Quade Green, the freshman from Philadelphia, out of Newman-Goretti, will run the offense for Kentucky.
The Troy team that has 4 starters back from the club that won their conference tournament last year in the Sun Belt and went to the NCAAs and lost to Duke in the first round. They will not be fearful of Rupp Arena.
Nice baseline move and a point-blank look for Nick Richards, the freshman from Kingston, Jamaica.
Nice patient move by Richards on the block. Waited to see if a double team was going to come. They didn't take away his baseline shoulder. Made the right read and the right play.
Troy 2-2 on the young season. They won 2 out of 3 on their trip to Hawaii a couple weeks ago. Jump hook goes for Alex Hicks, the freshman.
Really a good athlete, a kid that had 14-6 last year against Duke in that first round loss.
And there's a 2 as Kevin Knox gets into the swing of things, coming off of a double-double, 17 and 10 in Kentucky's Friday win against East Tennessee State. John Calipari's been concerned with slow starts, and this one looks better already for Kentucky. Baker, the point guard, yep. And he draws a foul from Quade Green. This is senior versus freshman right here.
Well, you're chasing a screener off of a dribble handoff and a ball hand off, and Quade Green just goes at the side of the shooter instead of the front of him. Quade Green wants to be the best defensive guard John Calipari's ever had. And I like his mentality. I like his goal. Just a young mistake right there by Quade Green to start the game.
Had a pretty good one just 2 years ago with Tyler Ulis, SEC Defensive Player of the Year. Baker's got one more coming. The senior from St. Louis at a Pensacola State Junior College. He led them in assists last season. What a turnaround, Jimmy. They won 22 games last year, made it to the tournament, played Duke. But they had lost 22 games a year before.
Well, all young kids. You look at their 2 best players right now, Vernado and Person. Been in the program now 3 and 4 years. So they took their knocks early. But those 2 guys are as good as you're going to find at the mid-major level.
Green into the paint, off balance, and it's rebounded by Nick Richards. Wide open, Diallo. Another offensive board, and a putback. Credit Kevin Knox. He's got 2 buckets here early.
Yeah, you credit Knox, but you credit Nick Richards for keeping that ball alive twice in 1 possession. Doing exactly what he's been preached to do over the last month of the season by Calipari. Go after every rebound with 2 hands. Well done by Nick Richards.
Richards getting fouled terrible last time out. Here's Vernado inside. Doesn't have his brother's size, but might be a better scorer. That time reached in after the miss.
Yeah, Kentucky was out-rebounded in the first 2 or 3 ball games, but they're too long and they're too good on their second jump, like Richards is there, just to stay after the basketball, and Knox comes in as well. Kevin Knox with only 4 offensive rebounds so far in 143 minutes played. Something that he must improve on.
Diallo from the free throw line. Rebounded by Baker. He'll key the three in transition from Person. And Richards on the glass again. Kentucky pushing. Baseline bucket for Diallo.
Yeah, throw it ahead. How many times did we hear John Calipari in practice yesterday in transition? Throw it ahead, throw it ahead. Not three dribbles and throw it ahead. Very well done by Kentucky.
Kentucky's only averaging 71 points a game. It's towards the bottom of the SEC for a team and its fans that are used to seeing them light it up. Hicks, the junior college transfer, can't knock it down. Offensive board into the hands of Wesley Person.
Diallo did not go hit his guy when the shot was released. You have to hit your guy, then find the ball and fetch it. And John Calipari's given Diallo an earful. The missed block off results in another three-point.
Wesley Person just adds to his school record for three-pointers made, just like his dad did when he was playing at Auburn for Sonny Smith. And an over-the-back foul. We'll take it the other way. That's on Knox. Here's Kentucky running.
Well, watch the cleanup of the boards by Richards. A two-handed rebound again. One bounce, throw it ahead. And the rim attack by Diallo on the other end. Very good spacing and urgency of Kentucky from one end to the other.
Correction, that was Nick Richards who committed his first personal, replaced by Sasha Kalea-Jones. They'll both be in the 5 spot for Kentucky. They had their hands full in a Kansas game a couple weeks ago. We'll have the size advantage tonight. Renato trying to work inside. Hangs and hits. Nice bucket. Our guy is averaging almost 20 points a game.
You know, he can make guarded shots at 6'6". A very high release. We go back and look at it. And Kentucky not doubling him to start this basketball game.
Beautiful high-low. Kalea-Jones has his first bucket.
Wasn't that a nice cut by Kalea-Jones off the ball? He just got behind the defense and read where the open pocket was.
Baker off the mark. He's been struggling with his shot all season. Just 23% from three. They need that to come around. Again to the elbow. Loose ball corralled by Kentucky. Easy look. P.J. Washington has a bucket. Balance scoring for the Cats early.
Tom, the size of Kentucky has to be a concern for Phil Cunningham, the head coach at Troy. Just so much you can do with all that length that Kentucky just makes plays over the top of you.
Hicks, no look. Baker passes on the three to get inside. Sean Hopkins off the mark. Live finish! They cover 94 feet in a hurry, don't they?
That is throwing it ahead about as well as you can get from a true freshman to a true freshman in transition. A very difficult pass at Quade Green. On time, on target, and on the move.
Kevin Knox's dad was a great wide receiver at Florida State. He hooked up with Charlie Ward on passes like this. Freshman to freshman here in the Bluegrass.
Yeah, very well done. On the move to throw it about 2 feet left of the rim. Kentucky up big early.
Early 6-point advantage for number 8 Kentucky. If it seems like the Cats are playing a game almost every other day, it's because they are. For more on that, we say good evening to Stormy Bonatoni.
Well, Tom, this Kentucky Wildcats team has played 4 games in the first 7 days of the season. They've got 3 more this week, including today. And that doesn't leave a lot of time, as head coach John Calipari said, to allow for the development of a lot of these principles that he feels this team needs to be successful. They've trailed by double digits at some point in 3 of their first 4 games. And Cal, on the slow start, said to his guys at shoot-around today that I need you playing like you've got nothing to lose. Everybody else plays us like that. I need to see it from you. He wants them to get into a different mindset. And I think, Tom, Jimmy, you guys know he's hoping to see that sooner rather than later. Off to a good start so far.
All right, Stormy, thank you and welcome along. And Jimmy, one of the things he talked to his team about, he channeled the college football playoff in many ways. He said, this isn't college football. You can lose a game. Yeah. It's okay. It's not going to affect us at the end of the year. It's more about the big picture in the process.
I thought his message was really on point. And he said we have 2 guys right now that are playing with that type of mentality, and that's Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Sasha Kalea-Jones. And he said, just turn it loose. Be who you are. Let me worry about the adjustments in the game and go do what you do. And what does Hami Diallo do very well? Transition baskets and explosion at the rim. Again, Kentucky's so good at securing that board, and Hami makes the right reads because the passing lanes this time were covered up, and it opens up the driving lanes, and just has the ability to take a bump and finish. He's a big, strong, 6'5", 6'6" physical guard that can get fouled and still get that thing around the rim to go in.
It was the first on Alex Hicks. Here's Diallo, who came to the Kentucky program mid-year last year. Wenyan Gabriel has entered the game for Kentucky, as has Shea Gilgeous-Alexander. 6-0 Kentucky run for John Calipari's squad. Gilgeous-Alexander is 6'6". He's got a 6'10" wingspan. He has the potential to be a lockdown defender.
Yeah, he's if you just try to build a defender, that's exactly what you would put in the blueprints. And he's learned how to not overcrowd and close out under control. He is a nightmare at that point guard position as a defender.
Diallo gives it up. Here's Gabriel with the left. And Troy comes out of there with it. And Varnado. This is a Troy team that put up 106 points last time out. Of course, that came against Bruton Parker. An NAI squad. They hit 40% of their threes in that game. Baker's got a bump but no whistle, and here comes Gilgeous-Alexander the other way. Kentucky getting it done inside. 7 of their 8 field goals have come in the paint. Knox for 3. An air ball. He'd made 43% of his threes coming into the game.
Yeah, he can make guarded shots, but that was a completely covered up shot that Knox tried to release, did release, and a bad result. There should be a place on a stat sheet for bad shots taken, and there would be one right now in that category for Knox.
I'm going to deem you the official scorer for that stat.
I don't like him. As a former coach, you do not like bad shots taken.
Open floor foul on Kevin Baker, the senior from St. Louis. And he'll go take a seat. It's his first. Head coach Phil Cunningham is a Kentucky native. He's from Campbellsville, played for his late dad Lou in college, and he played here at Rupp Arena in the Sweet 16 for Taylor County High School. 5th season as Troy's head coach, has been in this building a number of times, not only as a fan, but as a coach as well. He was a longtime assistant at Mississippi State. They won here in 2009 against Billy Gillespie's last team.
Well, that's the connection with Jordan Bernardo, because Jordan's older brother, Jarvis Bernardo, all-time leading shot blocker in the history of college ball at Mississippi State. Phil was the assistant there.
And a 2-time SEC Defensive Player of the Year. Troy continues to struggle. The Trojans have missed each of their last 7 field goal attempts. That time it was Juan Davis Jr. At the end of the year, where will Kentucky be its best in the half court?
Well, I think they're going to have to be a team that's balanced, and I continue to hear a lot of talk about they don't have a go-to guy, a star, a stud player. That's okay, because I think this could be a team that could be a different guy getting 20 points per game. And those kind of teams come March are very difficult to defend, and that's what, to me, what Kentucky, that's the trajectory that they're on.
Well, it continues Wednesday. Kentucky will be back at it against Fort Wayne, 8 o'clock Eastern. It's also streaming live on the ESPN app right here on the SEC Network. You watch John Calipari's practice, and it certainly seems like Kevin Knox could be that go-to guy early in the season. Quade Green, shot clock winding down, floater's too strong.
By the time you think about it, just last year alone, Malik Monk put up 49 against North Carolina on December the 17th. And then De'Aaron Fox had 39 in the NCAA game against UCLA. I don't see a guy for Kentucky yet that can put up those kind of numbers. Much more of a balanced attack, I believe, this year.
Hicks with the bucket. He'll be going to the free throw line. Troy's down 6 with a chance to cut it to 5. Back to Rupp in a moment. Kentucky with a 6-point lead over Troy. This is a Kentucky team that has 7 top 100 players on it. They are young, according to Ken Pomeroy, the youngest team in college basketball. And they lost, obviously, a lot of their firepower. You have to go back to the NIT season of 2012-2013 as to when they returned so little a percentage of their points. The question is, what does the future hold for this Kentucky squad?
Well, I think this team is built different. I was actually around Kentucky a lot that year when they went to the NIT and suffered that loss at Robert Morris. But you know, you win ball games, and there was a tweet today, Paul Biancardi, I think, was talking about some of the great sayings of the late, great Rick Majerus. And Rick Majerus used to always say, you don't win games on the road or at home. You win games in the paint, on the glass, and at the free throw line. And there's so much truth in that. And Kentucky's trying to figure out, how do you win games at this level? And you win games by winning in the paint. So far, Kentucky, 7 of their 8 makes in this basketball game have been in those paint touch areas.
And they're +6 on the glass right now. That last foul was on Gilgeous-Alexander. It was his first. Troy's cut it to 5.
I read that tweet today. I remember riding with Rick Majerus in his car back from a BYU game that night, and he was, for the 45-minute drive back, he was breaking down the game, but over and over he said, Jimmy, I'm telling you, you don't win games on the road. You win games in the paint, on the glass, at the free throw line.
You can hear that voice right now.
Coach, I've got it. Like, Coach, I've got it. I've got it.
Offensive board for Troy, then a hustling knockaway by Diallo. Diallo will take it himself, and he'll earn another trip to the free throw line.
Diallo's such a strong guard, and again, the length of Kentucky just bothering folks at the rim, and then the reach in from behind with the long arms of Diallo. But then once he gets it, and this is a kid that's he's 215, 220 pounds, and you're not going to knock him off of his line of attack.
I was here in Lexington last year when he first showed up for his very first practice, and he looked like a gelding out there. I mean, he looked completely lost, as you would expect any kid who comes in midway through his high school senior year to look when he's thrust in that backcourt and one of John Calipari's practices. And I think if you apply that to what these guys are going through, these other freshmen, you understand that it's going to take a while. It's going to take a while to get to know what your coach expects out of you and what your teammates are like.
It is. I think the entire Big Blue Nation took a deep breath. Although they lost to Kansas, how they played, how they looked, how they showed up, how competitive and tough they were down the stretch. And that's a Kansas team that I think will still win that Big 12 title, their 14th in a row, which is incredible.
Parsons made one deep ball tonight. He's missed a couple. He's a key for this Troy team, their all-time leading scorer in Division I. Wow, right down the gap is P.J. Washington for the slam.
Yeah, that was really good by Washington, but that was bad defense by Troy. No one rotating over, no one on the ball side of the floor, and one pass of a reversal gets an easy dunk.
Largest lead of the night for Kentucky. Troy hesitant to put it up inside. Shot clock is at 7. Darian Adams gives it up. Here's B.J. Miller. And an over-the-back foul will be on Alex Hicks. The big guy's got his second.
I mean, this is just the ball gets to one side of the floor and then reversal pass up top. And well, you're just a lot of defensive breakdowns when after one pass you give up a straight line blow-by dunk. Talked about Kansas in the Big 12. Texas Tech sent a little bit of a message to the rest of the Big 12. I mean, they beat the brakes off of Northwestern last night. Huge game out of Keenan Evans, and those neutral floor and true road wins, something we'll start to see this week during Feast Week. That's when you'll figure out who you really are.
Who Kentucky is tall.
Yes.
They're the youngest team in the country. They're the 5th tallest team, and it's not just the height, it's the length, the wingspans of some of these guys are amazing.
By the time that shows up and taking away passing lanes and getting deflections and making plays over the top of you on the offensive end, limiting your touches in terms of second chance opportunities. Hard to score when you can't see the rim.
Nice look inside. Back to the perimeter, and Adams got happy feet. Another turnover for Troy. By the way, Kentucky has only turned it over once so far in the first 11 minutes. Pretty good for a young team. And John Calipari gets to call his own name. He's putting in his son, Brad Calipari, here with a 10-point lead. Hometown favorite for sure. What'd you tell Brad before the game? How soon you want him to get a shot up?
Yeah, I said if you're in the game within the first 8 seconds and it doesn't go up, I'm going to be very disappointed.
Gilgeous-Alexander has his first bucket.
Tom, he is the best pure shooter that Kentucky has. And you watch him in practice, he's a valuable guy right now because he's constantly harassing Green and doing a good job of making Diallo work, and John Calipari trusts putting Brad in the game. And I would too.
This is the earliest he's ever been in a game. He runs with the second team during practice every day over at the Kraft Center. So it's not like he's a stranger to be on the floor with these guys. Gilgeous-Alexander trying to split the D. Calipari gives it up. Ball away two is off the mark. Johnson with the hesitation. Into the hands of Gilgeous-Alexander. Up front, Knox to the paint in a hurry. Kind of slipped on his way up for that one, it looked like.
Person for Troy up the top of the screen. Calipari in 12's checking him. Has got to get off in this game. He's a kid that's used to shooting 8 or 9 3-point shots per game, and right now he just cannot get free.
He is 1 for 3 from deep, and he won't have a chance for the moment. He's being taken out of the game, may have blood on his jersey, and he'll have to go see the athletic trainer. Person's got a cut, I assume, and they're going to address that.
I just don't think Troy has enough offense. If Bernardo, number 23, their leading scorer, getting almost 20 a game, and Person, their second leading scorer, getting 17 a game, they have to get theirs tonight and hope a third guy steps up and helps.
At this point, Person only has 1 bucket. He has lone 3. P.J. Washington on the glass.
One of the keys was to make Bernardo take and make tough twos, and that's exactly what Kentucky forced him to do on that possession.
We got a walk on the drive. Cal wanted a foul. Said the second turnover for Kentucky. 8th-ranked Cats have a 10-point lead at the under 8 in the first half at Rupp. Number 8, Kentucky leads Troy 23-13. Tom Hart, Jimmy Dykes, Stormy Bonatone, and good D from this young Kentucky squad.
Well, they've gotten better guard the ball. They were atrocious at it the first 2 or 3 games. And look at this. Sasha Kalia-Jones at 7 feet backs off of a guy that's a very good one-on-one driver from the wing area. And they're much more disciplined on their closeouts, which makes them much more disciplined guarding the ball and making 23 Bernardo take tough twos in this game so far.
Troy just 5 of 20 from the floor. 8 of their 20 shots have come from behind the arc, and they've only made 1 of them. Seven different Cats have scored tonight, by the way. Bernardo came in averaging almost 20 points a game. Was named to the Rainbow Classic All-Tournament team. Scored 60 in 3 games there. And with Kevin Hervey at UT Arlington were the only 2 averaging 16 points and better than 7 boards a game. And Hervey might be a lottery pick.
Yeah, that's a name come March from Texas Arlington. Kevin Hervey and Eric Neal, the point guard. Those 2 guys could play for about anyone in the country. Huge game tomorrow night against Alabama.
Seems like the Sun Belt's full of great duos as Miller finishes. Georgia Southern's got Ike Smith and Tukey Brown. And Troy's got Bernardo and Person.
I believe I saw Georgia Southern today with a big win against Missouri State, who's favored in the Valley this year.
Quade Green, that's a deep 2.
Knox and Green have the purest stroke so far for this young Kentucky team from distance.
Good help on the screen. Bernardo looking inside, and it's knocked away by Sasha Kalia-Jones.
Very difficult to make those over-the-top passes against the size of Kentucky. A terrific drive by Miller, and decisions at the rim by guards are so critical when you play Kentucky, because you have to read the defense converging, you have to find open people, and make tough shots when they're there at times.
The leaning 3 from Baker's off the mark. They're anxious to get his shot back. He's more of a scoring guard coming out of junior college. Troy only 1 for 9 from deep. They make 9.5 a game. They shoot 28 a game. Green try to fit it inside. Ty Wynyard and had knocked away. Wednesday at 10 Eastern, the SEC Network grants you an all-access pass to Ole Miss football for their game against Texas A&M. You'll get never-before footage and sounds from pregame to postgame. SEC Inside, presented by Regions Bank, also streaming live on the ESPN app. A lot of offense early in that one. They traded scores in the first 4 possessions, then punts on the next 4. This game kind of has that same feel, right? We got a pretty good start, then both teams got cold.
Speaking of football, Troy, they're having another really good season. 8-2, I believe.
Yeah, with a win at LSU.
At LSU. And then they come home 10 days later and lose at home to South Alabama. Kind of like, how in the world does that happen?
By the way, that's Neil Brown, former Kentucky offensive coordinator. Might be, Troy fans don't want to hear this, but they're in first place in the Sun Belt right now. He might be in line for a promotion. Quade Green has 4.
Very good read and feel by Quade Green in transition, as he comes on the hard push and then reads the defense and takes what the defense gives him. That time is an open 15-footer. Kentucky much more disciplined, Tom, in their defensive closeouts on the ball. They've gotten better over the last 2 weeks in a critical area of your team defense.
Shot clock winding down again. Baker with 5, and he draws a foul from Knox. That is the first on Kevin Knox.
Knox was playing too tall as a closeout defender and then as a defender on the drive. He's 6'9", he's a 6'9" guard. He'll be matched up against guards a lot this year for John Calipari. And when the offensive player gets lower than your hips, you're at a disadvantage as a defender.
Baker at the free throw line. He was fantastic from behind the arc last year, 5th in the Sun Belt. He made 72 threes. He hasn't been able to find a shooting touch yet this season. Knocks them both down from the free throw line. Quade Green and Shea Gilgeous-Alexander split time at the point here in the first half. Here's Green again. Wynyard found it. Diallo with an offensive foul.
Boy, terrific defense by Person. They talked about it this afternoon at the shoot-around that Diallo loves to go hard with that right hand, and Person was anticipating the hard right-hand drive by Diallo. No shot fake to make the defender react to it, and terrific footwork by Person.
Calipari takes Green out of the game.
Bernardo. That is just way too easy. Bernardo just completely whipped Wynyard Gabriel in the paint at the rim off of a couple of bounces and 1 pass.
He led their league in blocks last year. He was 5th in the Sun Belt in scoring. Knocks off the curl and had his man on a hip and caught a foul for Sean Hopkins, junior from Nokia, Finland.
Jordan Bernardo is 6'6" and 230 and strong as an ox. And Wynyard Gabriel gets caught behind him instead of on the 3/4 side of him and just gets buried. And that's a great example of a guy scoring before he ever catches the basketball. Terrific position by Bernardo.
Gilgeous-Alexander slithers his way to the rim. He's got 4, the lead back to 10.
And John Calipari will give an assist on the team chart to Ty Wynyard for carving out space and holding his ground and just opening up a hole for Alexander to drive through.
Ball just won't fall from deep for Troy. They're now 1 for 11. Wynyard, height advantage inside on Hicks. Look at Diallo inside. And Person comes out of there with it. Trailing is Baker. Tees it up. Wow. And an offensive, probably a foul inside on the glass will be on Hicks. If it's Hicks, it's his 3rd.
Well, great effort by Wynyard, a guy that would get a lot of minutes, if not start, for about 80% of the teams in the country just because he's just a blue-collar, hard-nosed guy. And you saw Diallo coming in there on the offensive glass. I talked about it earlier. This kid at the free throw line, number 3 in white, with a 44.5-inch vertical, is a handful to keep off of the offensive glass. But only 4 so far coming into this game. Something he's got to reprogram himself to get 2 or 3 a ball game.
Along with that vertical, he has a 6'11" wingspan. One more coming for Diallo, the freshman from Queens. Enrolled at Kentucky in January. There was some thought that he might just go straight to the NBA without playing a game at Kentucky. And before the clock struck midnight, about 10 minutes before the clock struck midnight, he let Kentucky know that he was coming back. Diallo on the glass, nothing. Loose ball, everybody on the floor for it, including Knox. Possession arrow belongs to Troy. Good hustle from both sides. The lead's 11 for number 8 Kentucky. Under 4 to go in the first half in Lex.
All right, coming up on the SEC Halftime Report, Greg McElroy, Marcus Spears give us a preview of Kentucky-Louisville on the football field coming up this Saturday. And you have to see this. It is the dunk of the year. We'll show you that, including first half highlights. But now, back to Tom and Jimmy.
All right, Peter, thanks. Kentucky got the coverage they wanted on the first play from scrimmage against Louisville last year, on their way to a long touchdown pass and some touchdown passes for Kentucky. Pushing the field here early.
Well, Kentucky is doing a great job on the defensive boards, first of all, and they put so much pressure on you to all 5 run to the paint, but they're running with length, so you can be beside them, Tom, and Kentucky still has the ability to make the play over the top of you. And a good read, talked about it earlier by Quade Green, just to be patient, have some poise, read the defense, and that's what Kentucky's doing right now. They are dominating the paint in this ball game. Paint touches, something that every coach in the country is concerned with. Kentucky doing a good job of it so far.
Little 3-quarter court look for Kentucky for the first time.
Normally they shape up into their 2-3 zone, and that's what they drop back to now. And it is a huge zone with 6'5" and 6'6" and 7-foot wingspans up top.
They really worked against Utah Valley State a couple of weeks ago. Keyed an 18-0 run for Kentucky. 3 ball, 2 strong, now 1 for 13 from deep. Kentucky has made just 1 of its last 7. Here's Diallo inside. Nothing doing. Stormy was listening to the Troy huddle last time. Stormy, what do you got?
Yes, I was sitting over there, and there wasn't a lot of energy whatsoever. The only guy in there really clapping his hands was Kevin Baker, and Coach Phil Cunningham was the one that was really trying to give the most energy out of them. He was saying, hang around, let's get this done. You can go at them. Just keep hanging around and doing what you know you're capable of. So we'll see how that goes moving forward.
All right, thanks, Stormy. That belies the point that John Calipari has been making to his team the last 2 days, which is the teams that we've played, except for one, that would be Kansas, all play like they have nothing to lose. It's time for us to start playing like we have nothing to lose.
Well, I like the message that Phil's telling his guys, because you look up and this is a Troy team. You know they're going to shoot their 28 to 33-point shots per game. That's what they've done so far through 4 games. They're 1 for 12 right now from 3. And John Calipari knows that those 3-point shots start falling, this thing can change in a hurry.
Here's Wenyon Gabriel at the free throw line. 23 starts for him last year. He is one of the experienced players on Kentucky's roster. As Quade Green returns to play the backcourt, they can play Green and Gilgeous Alexander at the same time.
Kentucky now shooting 50% from the free throw line. The reason why I bring that up, in their last ball game, they were 3 out of 15, 20%. You have to go all the way back to 1925 versus Georgetown College, the last time Kentucky shot 20% from the free throw line. That's a long time.
That is a long time.
20%. You're shooting hook shots?
And yes, they have been working on free throws at practice. We were there, we promise. Left a little bit short, Knox with it. Kentucky's made just 1 of their last 8 from the floor, and a reach in on Varnado. That's his second. Well, the trip to the free throw line coming for the Cats. Saturday at 10 a.m. Eastern, SEC Nation's headed to the Palmetto State. For number 2, Clemson and South Carolina. They'll break down everything from the gridiron to the grill. It's SEC Nation, presented by Pilot Flying J, right here on the SEC Network. Also streaming live on the ESPN app.
They will have a lot to talk about, won't they? We start talking about SEC football right now.
Yes, sir.
All the possible coaching changes and those we already know about. And
never had 3 interim coaches before. We got 3 interim and at least 2 more on the hot seat as Gilgeous-Alexander knocks them both down. By the way, pretty big one on the Plains this weekend. Iron Bowl will decide the West. This rivalry weekend. Person with the pull-up knocks it down. I did a little research. We're talking about Kevin Knox. His dad was a wide receiver at Florida State. Florida State and Florida meet on the gridiron this week. When his dad was a junior, he had 10 catches against Florida in that rivalry game in the first half. Pretty good way to treat your rival, huh?
Yeah, in the rivalry game, that's about as good as you can do.
It's a pretty good Florida State team. You got Charlie Ward, Danny Cannell was the backup. Derek Brooks, who worked on a couple of Pro Football Hall of Famers on that same squad. Folks, if you don't know who Charlie Ward is, he was a pretty good name as well. He won the Heisman, and then he went and played for the New York Knicks. Got a bump on P.J. Washington, and Troy now in the bonus.
Speaking of having a good half, how about Don Coleman tonight from California? Went for 26 points against Wichita State out in Maui, and Wichita State came back and won the game. But well, you don't do 26 points and a half against Wichita State very often. That kid was getting anything he wanted.
It is a veteran Wichita State team able to mount that second half comeback.
I'm saying this week is Truth Week in terms of what we think we know and what we're going to know over the next 4 or 5 days.
What do we know about Michael Porter Jr.?
We don't know a lot. That is one of the great mysteries in college basketball right now. The injury and not sitting on the bench, and just not a lot coming out of that Missouri camp right now. And I was there for the debut of Michael Porter Jr. He played 2 minutes and sat on the bench, and just a little bit of a mystery of what's going on.
Yeah, Missouri's got Emporia State tonight, and the Tigers have already announced that Michael Porter Jr. will not play, and he will not be in the building. He is going to be seeing a specialist apparently at the time that his team is on the floor against Emporia State.
Which is different than the last time they played at home, and he wasn't on the bench and in the building.
Right. It's weird. Here's Wenyen Gabriel. Amadou Diallo returns for Kentucky. And it's a shame, really, Jimmy, because Michael Porter Jr. could be a transcendent talent. You look at what Ben Simmons has done in the NBA already with a triple-double.
Yeah.
And well, he could fill it up for LSU. Michael Porter Jr. could be that same kind of guy.
Yeah, there's no question about Porter Jr. on terms of the offensive end. I mean, he can score from every area. He's smooth. He can shoot it with a stroke. Defensively, I'm not sure he's wired in to defend at the NBA right now. Not quick enough for a 3 and not physical enough to defend a 4.
We got a jump ball. Possession arrow belong this direction with Kentucky.
Hard drive again by Washington, and was a lot of contact. I know there's a jump ball, but boy, there's a lot of contact with 2 red jerseys on top of Washington.
And now we got a foul. Free throws coming. Darian Adams commits his first personal.
Very important closing 40 seconds for both ball clubs. Kentucky has a chance to push this thing out to 14, 15, 16 points if things go their way. And Troy certainly has a chance to keep it around a 10-point mark. And as poorly as they've shot the ball in the first half, Phil would take that right now. Can they get it at 10 with 40 to go?
Former Mr. Florida Kevin Knox at the free throw line. Brandon Knight is the only other Kentucky player that he came here as a Mr. Florida, and a foul on the rebound on Diallo. That's his second. Kentucky has already shot 11 free throws in this game, 7 for 11 from the line.
Well, you walk to the other end, and now Troy has a chance to put 2 on the board unguarded at the free throw line. And you look up, there's 39 seconds, so Troy most likely will get the last shot of the half. And who wins these last 40 seconds is very important in this game.
So here's Wesley Person. Dad Wesley was a first-round pick at Auburn in '94. Got out of there without having played an NCAA tournament game. And Wesley bested Dad with that appearance last year against Duke in the first round. Knocks them both down.
He got off to a slow start. That's kind of been who he's been in his career. Kind of a very patient scorer. His average 15 over his 100 career starts. Troy needs to lock in on the first shot defense and not allow Kentucky to get a second shot.
Gabriel with the three. First three of the night for Kentucky. That'll keep their long streak alive. Best in the country.
Big shot by Gabriel. Troy did not recognize a kid that can knock down a three popping out of an on-ball screen. Very well done by Wenyen Gabriel. Kentucky comes up with a high flat ball screen in the middle third of the floor, and Gabriel just pops out of it, and Troy gets a little confused and they don't rotate up quick enough. And Gabriel strokes it. High flat ball screen, Quad A Green drags it over one more dribble to create that defensive person on Gabriel to have to recover one more step, and that one step was the difference of Gabriel getting off a clean three.
Well, everything that Gabriel does on the offensive end, from slashing his way to the basket and getting on the offensive board, if he can hit that regularly, that'll add a dimension not just to his game but to this Kentucky half court. Kentucky had really been struggling. They've made just 2 of their last 10 from the floor, trying to finish strong. But in that same period, they built their largest lead since thanks to the free throws.
Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is checking Person. Has a height advantage, and he cannot leave. He must stay attached to number 3 in this far corner.
They switch. Gabriel knocks up out. The ball got loose. It'll go back to Kentucky. 5.9 left in the half.
That's really good recognition by Gabriel to switch it out, because Shai Gilgeous-Alexander got hung up in the dribble handoff action, and good communication by Kentucky knowing who the threat is. There's the dribble handoff. Gabriel switches early and high and forces Person to put the ball on the deck, which is not his strength.
So Kentucky uses a timeout to set up the last shot. They'll be inbounding from underneath the basket on the far baseline. Who do you get the ball in the hands of?
We got plenty of time. I mean, with 6 seconds, you got time for not only for one shot, but to follow it up with an offensive rebound. But more importantly, Kentucky now has a chance to win that final 40 seconds that I talked about and push this thing out to a 16, if not a 17-point lead.
10 offensive rebounds in this half for Kentucky. Plenty of threats on the floor, including Knox, who can stroke it from deep, and Speed with Quad A Green ready to take this inbounds.
Yeah, I just trust Green to get this thing and come with speed and get it up quick enough to allow Kentucky to get a second chance off of an offensive rebound.
Green on his way forward into the front court. Clock at 3. Green pull up from 16. Got it!
Yeah, well done. That's very well done. You trust the speed of Quad A Green. That's twice now, Tom, in the first half. He's pushed this thing and read the defense, and he shot it soon enough. Had it been a miss, that Wenyen Gabriel may have been there. Knox could have been there. And Kentucky closes out the last 40 seconds about as well as you could.
Stormy standing by with John Calipari.
Coach, you held this Troy team.
You had my arm a second ago. You know that?
I'm sorry. But you guys held this Troy team to 1.
Why did you do that?
Was it too hard? No, 1 of 14. 1 of 14 from 3. You held these Trojans to. How impressed were you with your perimeter defense? You stressed that a lot of practice.
We're getting better. I'm trying to lighten the load offensively and really focus on defense. A lot of good stuff I'm seeing. Again, you still have to be a team playing together. We're not quite there yet.
Well, what about those offensive rebounds? You've got to be pleased with those opportunities.
How about Hami rebounding the ball like he is? Now all of a sudden we're able to throw it ahead and play a little different.
Thanks, Coach. Tom?
7 rebounds for Hamidou Diallo. How about Stormy? First day on the job, and she's already going viral. Number 8, Kentucky leads Troy 41-25. Let's get you to Peter Burns in the studio.
All right, thank you, Tom. A hard 16-point lead for those Kentucky Wildcats. Hi, hello. Welcome, Peter Burns in for the halftime report. 8 different Cats scored, and that'll help you out when you have that 16-point lead. Let's get you caught up on everything that's going around the SEC right now. And how about Texas A&M? What a story this is turning out to be. They're 16th ranked against Oklahoma State, facing off in Brooklyn. Yes, those are the Cowboys, even though you don't look at their jersey. Robert Williams His first game back this season with the poster. Give it to me one more time. Slow-mo it. Give me more pictures. Can I get it one more? Sorry, I'm being selfish here. I just want to see it. Aggie 16 of 15 last season. He wants to be the number one overall pick. Averaged 12 points and 8 boards. DJ Hogue getting involved as well. Some nice handles to really get Coach Kennedy's squad back in here. It looks like they're playing the Thunder. I'm sorry. 70-47. Gig 'em. Aggies looking for their third victory. Mizzou, early. Remember, Kwanzo Martin taking over. We haven't seen Michael Porter Jr. really because of the leg injury. Kevin Purrier, basket plus a foul, completes a three-point play. Later, 2-point game, Terrence Phillips to Cullen Van Leer. 3. 5-point game now. Emporia State hanging around. 4-point game. Jeremiah Tillman grabs the rebound. That's a basket. Knotted at 28-28. You can't let Emporia State hang around. Opening segments, Abdu, Mississippi State and Green Bay. Getting involved in the game. Eric Holman. Give me an and one in Stark Vegas. There you go. That'll count. Later, Nick Weatherspoon showing the nice little dime. Gets it out to Eli Wright for the lay-in. State up 12 at that point. Then, Lamar Peters. Watch this move. NBA Live mode. Oh, a step back three. Mississippi State up 11, 40-29 over Green Bay. Right now, though, Kentucky Wildcats got to get a little oop itself. Nice. High percentage shot. They're up by 16 at the half. Welcome back to SEC Halftime Report. Not going to lie, it was so sweet to see the Cats take down Bobby Petrino's Cardinals last year. How about 2 in a row, huh? They're going to host Lamar Jackson and Louisville on Saturday. Greg McElroy and Marcus Spears give us a preview of the Governor's Cup.
G-Money.
What's up, man?
Louisville, Kentucky.
What about it?
Look, this is a huge game. Last year, there was a big win for Kentucky.
Huge.
Bowl contingent, all of that good stuff.
No doubt.
Lamar Jackson won the Heisman. They beat the Heisman winner. Just all of the good stuff. So they match up again. What do you think about it?
I look at Louisville right now, and I look at what they did last week against Syracuse, and I say, man, look out. Kentucky better bring their best stuff. But I haven't seen that every week from Louisville. No. They've been kind of up and down. They've had moments on defense where you're like, what? What's going on? And then they've had moments on offense, for the most part, where they've been electric. As good as they were last year, you could make a very clear argument that Lamar Jackson is a significantly better player this year. His numbers even come close to indicating that. Kentucky's similar in that regard because they've been up and down. Yeah. You never know what you're going to get. Do we get the Kentucky that we saw against Georgia, or do we see the Kentucky that we saw against Vanderbilt? Do we see the Kentucky that has just been like a roller coaster for them? Why can't they get some consistency?
That's been the biggest issue for Stoops and this team. Yeah. Like, at times they've looked great. It's almost like you have it's the lesser of two evils, right? You look at the Florida game, should have been a W. Now you're sitting here with a team with 8 or 9 wins at this point. I think for them, though, as far as game plan in this game, hand it off to Snell and keep the ball away from Lamar Jackson as much as possible. The defense is okay, but Lamar Jackson has the ability to crush this defense. He didn't get off last year. They did a tremendous job. Stoops and this defense dialed up some great stuff for him. But I'm with you, man. Kentucky has been up and down. They're in bowl contention again, which is one of the goals that they have during the season, obviously, because sometimes they have the lesser of the talent. Right. But they've had success this year. I would call this a successful year for Kentucky. If they get a win, this will be big for them, especially being in state.
Well, if you look at it just on numbers alone, all right, Kentucky right now is 12th in the conference on opposing quarterback QBR, which is not good.
Not good.
It means that Lamar's got a chance to potentially go off, and they're 12th in the conference in yards per play. One area in which Louisville really, really excels. So they're going to have to bring their A game.
Giving up a lot, you better get a lot.
Yeah, you better get a lot.
They ain't doing it.
It ain't always easy against one of the best players in college football, Lamar Jackson.
I'm so sad. It's our last weekend, really, of college football. We got a great slate for you, though. Louisville and Kentucky at noon, then Tennessee Vols, 4 p.m., and then the nightcap presented by Holiday Inn Express. LSU taking on Kevin Sumlin and the Aggies. But down in Rupp Arena right now, Hamidou Diallo, he's got the moves like Big Sean. Give me a smile, big man. Can you give me a smile? There it is. Smiling at 16 at half. You want more, Big Blue Nation? We got more for you coming up against Fort Wayne. Those Kentucky Wildcats, Wednesday, 8 p.m. right here on the SEC ESPN Network. And always, even if you're out and about, hey, go download the ESPN app. It's always streaming live on it. But now, down at Rupp Arena, Sasha Kalia-Jones is saying, give me the ball, give me the ball. There it is. Nice play. That's his only bucket at half. Cats up 16, second half coming up after the break.
Welcome back to Rupp Arena, where Lexington, Kentucky's the site, and the Cats have held Troy to just 25 points in the first half. It's a 41-25 lead as we get set for the second. Tom Hart alongside Jimmy Dykes. Kind of simple when you look back at your keys to the game. Troy just haven't been able to knock down threes.
No, they haven't. Kentucky's done a lot of good things in this ballgame, Tom, on both ends of the floor. And you look back at the keys, what they were, and they're starting to play out a little bit right now. Troy, I thought they needed 30 points from the three-point line tonight. They've only gotten 3 so far, and they're 1 out of 14, and Kentucky has to continue to cover them up from out there. Get defensive rebounds. They have not done a good job of that at all. Kentucky with 10 offensive boards in this game, resulting in a lot of second chance points. For Kentucky, Chase Person all night long, and they've done a good job of chasing him on the three-point line and off the three-point line. He's only 1 out of 4 from there, and forced tough twos from Bernardo. I think they've done a very good job of forcing Bernardo to take and make tough shots in this game.
Let's see if Phil Cunningham echoes those thoughts. Moments ago, he caught up with Stormy Bonatoni.
Well, Coach, trailing by 16, but I heard you say repeatedly in the huddle over there, hey guys, just hang in there. What was the message in the locker room?
Well, we're 1 for 14 on threes. We need to make some threes to have a chance this game, and we've struggled. So now we've just got to try and hang around and make it up a 1 possession at a game time, try to get back in it.
Thanks, Coach.
All right, Stormy, thanks. Another great home crowd here at Rupp Arena. They're looking for another good second half. Kentucky's lone loss of the season game at the United Center against Kansas.
I'm going to go back to my conversation with Rick Majerus about 15, 16 years ago. And what has Kentucky done? In the paint, they have 20 points. On the glass, they're plus 15 on the boards. And at the free throw line, they're 8 out of 13. Kentucky tracking to shoot 25 or 26 free throw attempts in this game. That's how you win ball games, regardless of where they're played.
Kentucky turnover, and Kevin Baker on the other end. Kentucky almost doubling up on Troy on the glass and 10 offensive boards. Green whips it back to Washington. Back out to Quade Green. The freshman knocks down the triple. His first 3 of the night, second of the game for Kentucky.
Really good read and a simple play, but the right play by P.J. Washington because he got it on the kickback off of the pop and drew the defense with him off of 2 hard bounces, and a great job of finding Green.
Person stepped back and tested 2. Great defense by Diallo. Hicks finds a deep offensive board, and then it's ripped down by Nick Richards. Here's Kevin Knox on the run. Knox will go to the free throw line. Second personal on Sean Hopkins.
A good throw ahead by Quade Green to trigger Knox in the open floor. The turnover early to start this second half got John Calipari's attention with Quade Green right now, but there's just a really smooth drive by P.J. Washington, under control, reading the defense. The defense converges, and it's an easy kick out.
Another one coming for Kevin Knox. Mr. Basketball in the state of Florida and on the Wooden Award preseason watch list.
It's a lot to throw out a freshman to grasp the idea of becoming the guy that sets the tone every day, can just go get us 4 or 5 baskets a game when the play breaks down and play with that alpha dog mentality. But that's what Kentucky has to have out of Kevin Knox before that SEC play begins.
Knox challenges the shot, and Washington gets whistled for the foul. It's a second on P.J. Washington. Jordan Varnado to the free throw line. From Brownsville, Tennessee, same hometown as the great Tony Delk.
We talked about his older brother, Jarvis Bernard, the all-time shot block leader in NCAA history. There were practices at Mississippi State that you just had to take Jarvis off the floor because you could not practice your offense, and there's the foul that he drew. But this kid is a very good player. And just the length of Kentucky is bothering him in this game, but you see how consistent he's been in his career. Carves out space, can knock down 15-footers, and make a three every once in a while.
He was all-conference last year, first all-conference performer for Troy in 7 years. Knox puts it on the floor. There's an aggressive move.
That is a grown man's drive right there out of Knox. He caught that ball and lowered his shoulders and was not going to be denied getting to the rim. Avoided the charge. Very well done. That's the kind of play, Tom, I'm talking about 4 or 5 times a game Knox has to just go make. Watch Kevin Knox on this last drive out of their loop action. A throwback and one big bounce. He covers 20 feet and gets to the rim off one bounce and a big step. A very determined kid that I think grew up a lot in that Kansas game.
He was a late get for Kentucky. Got him on Derby Day. And Richards will be going to the free throw line. His dad in an interview said he had an offer to go play overseas in China for $1.4 million. He said he realized that his best chance to get to the NBA one and done was to come through Kentucky. And when you've got 15 of the 30 NBA teams represented by former Kentucky Wildcat, you got to like those odds.
Well, he's a real matchup problem, and I also love what he did when he committed that day on the day of the Kentucky Derby. He then gave his phone to his dad for 24 hours and didn't want to read anything on social media and hear the good stuff, the bad stuff, the poison that could come into your heart at that time. A very grounded young man that I believe wakes up every day with a purpose to be the best version of Kevin Knox that he can be.
Last mate Nick Richards at the free throw line, and the other freshman knocks them both down. He's got 4. Person was only open for a split second, has to drive instead, and they'll count that one. And credit Wesley Person as he gets into double figures, first for the Trojans to do so.
Yeah, Diallo was kind of late on the recovery. He started to shortcut it, and then by the time he got there, he was off balance. Person's a kid that can really score, but again, Kentucky continuing to make Troy take tough twos in this game.
Gabriel has already hit 1-3, got happy feet there. 6th turnover for Kentucky.
It's almost like he had already decided he was going to drive the ball because he caught it with 8 or 9 feet of separation with him, and he's 6'9". He turned down a 3 with a predetermined drive in his mind.
Speaking of putting it in your mind, Troy is just 1 for 15 from 3. Their worst shooting performance of the season. And we're talking to Wesley Person after shoot-around today, right next to the ball rack that had all these brand new Nike basketballs on it. And they have a different texture this year than I've ever seen. Kind of look like those old gripped rubber basketballs you would play with in the driveway.
Yeah.
And so I asked Wesley, I said, you like these balls? He said, man, I can't shoot with these. I hate Nike basketballs. Never played with them before. You wonder if that gets in a guy's head, especially after he misses the first couple?
That and the length of Kentucky on the defensive end. Those two things combined will mess with your mind. Yeah, it's almost like a golf ball. It's almost like
dimples.
It has like dimples all over the basketball. I felt the same thing. I like the feel of it myself. This kid's really good, and he averaged. He's averaged 15 points throughout his career. He's a patient scorer at the level that he's at in that Sun Belt, and that Sun Belt is a very good basketball league when you consider Texas Arlington's the favorite. We've talked about Hervey and Neal, how good they are. Georgia State, and they had this Troy team down 15 points in the semis last year of the Sun Belt tournament with most of their team back. And Marcus Simon's a terrific guard for Georgia State.
Troy finished the season on a tear. They won 6 of their last 8 Sun Belt games. Another Kentucky turnover. Troy's on a 6-0 run here. Talking with Phil Cunningham about the difference to swing season to season from 22 losses to 22 wins. Of course, maturity, which you've already talked about. They brought in all these guys after being a program that relied on the junior college transfers. They said, we want to be a high school-based program. The guys come in, they spend 4 seasons. So all those guys played early. Person misses again from deep. They also brought in a Florida transfer to really help things inside, and Diallo off the glass.
Kentucky's so good with multiple handlers. That time Knox playing the 3 is the initiator with a defensive rebounder. And Diallo finishes as a big point guard.
Nice finish by Vornado. He's got 9. They brought in Devin Walker as a transfer from Florida. He had been to the Final Four of Billy Donovan's squad. And that maturity and leadership and chemistry, they said, was a big reason that Troy was able to turn it around. Losing and winning, and the effect that chemistry has in a locker room and on the floor every day. A tripping foul on P.J. Washington. That's his 3rd. Here's Diallo. This guy can get to the rim.
Well, this is positionless basketball for Kentucky this year. Instead of the point guard initiating the break, he's the finisher right now for John Calipari.
Jimmy's got your sunglasses. Kentucky up 51-36. They're rocking and rolling tonight. There's a lot of talent in college basketball, folks. May not be all too familiar with since we're still early on in the season. Who's some of the guys you're watching?
I do love Bruno Mars. He's hard to guard as well. But these are the guys, to me, in this first week of college basketball have been hard to guard. Trayvon Blewett, terrific. And when the Xavier's win at Wisconsin, especially down the stretch, Jordan Murphy with 24 and 10, I think. On the road at Providence, Grayson Allen, wow, how good was he on a neutral floor win with 37 points against Michigan State. Igor Kulichov, 34 points in his debut as a Florida Gator. And Keenan Evans, talked about it last night. They just beat the brakes off of Northwestern. He dominated the game on both ends. I think he ended up with, I don't know, 25 points in 27 minutes. That's a good Texas Tech team. You'll see teams this week that no one's talking about that all of a sudden we'll start talking about from here on out. Texas Tech may very well be one of them.
Baker got there. By the way, Musketeers in action tonight against Hampton. Xavier's won 32 straight non-conference games at Cintas Arena. Blewett's given them 25 points a game and 54% from 3.
You just look at the best road wins so far this year. Xavier at Wisconsin, Purdue at Marquette, and Minnesota at Providence. Those are the ones that jump out to me.
That Purdue team can really get up and down the floor, can't they?
They can, yes. Don't be surprised in the battle for Atlantis. Everyone's talking about that Arizona-Villanova possible matchup, but sound smart tomorrow in your office and tell people Purdue is going to beat Villanova in the semis, and it's going to be Purdue and Arizona in the finals.
How about that? By the way, there's a big one that's kind of under the radar as far as the SEC is concerned tonight. Late night on ESPNU at 11:30, LSU's matching up with Michigan. How about Will Wade's team? Well, he's been working hard.
They've been working hard, and they have kind of been targeting that Michigan game, I think, over the last couple of 3 weeks. And that's a LSU team. The one thing they can do is shoot that basketball. And Mount Waters, the freshman point guard, has been terrific so far for Will Wade. That will be one worth staying up to watch. SEC is so deep this year, not only in terms of depth of teams, but depth of talent on teams, older players, younger players. That's a pretty good young one right there, Quade Green.
Quade Green has made just 1 3 tonight, but he's knocked down 2 long twos that were a couple toenails away from being triples. Here's Baker, straight ahead. Green will get credit with a rebound, looking to push. Kevin Knox. Great effort to tip it away by Hopkins, and it will go to Troy.
Quade tried to make the almost impossible pass as opposed to the simple pass up the same side that he's on. He's got Winion Gabriel right out in front of him, and he tries to throw one with about a 6-inch window to Kevin Knox.
You know, you just mentioned something that John Calipari hammered with his team today. He said when young kids struggle in AAU or high school, they're struggling, they try to make a fabulous play. They try to hit a tough shot, they try to dunk on somebody or make a perfect pass. And he leaned on something that Kevin McHale said a long time ago. He said, if you're struggling, Make the simple play.
Sure.
Then you'll get out of that slump, get out of those struggles, but young players don't necessarily realize that just yet. Shot clock's at 5. Person gives it up, straight ahead triple. And Knox has the board. Out of bounds and back to Troy. Saturday at 10 a.m. Eastern, SEC Nation's on the road in Columbia, South Carolina for their rivalry game against number 2 Clemson. They'll break down everything from the gridiron to the grill for Week 13. SEC Nation presented by Pilot Flying J right here on the SEC Network. Also streaming live on the ESPN app. Already 6 turnovers on 13 possessions this half for Kentucky. They had 4 turnovers on their 41 possessions in the first half. Great positioning by Bernardo, and he's got double figures with 11.
I think Sasha Kalia-Jones is probably coming out because he was on the weak side of the floor, had no recognition at all of where the ball was, and being on the ball side of the floor on the rim line, and wasn't there to rotate over for help.
Knox drives, created separation. Gabriel on the glass.
Sasha Kalia-Jones is the guy that Calipari is going to pull because he's not on the white line with his head under the rim when 23 is posting up on the ball side of the floor. He's hugged up on the weak side of the floor and rotates over late. And I believe he will get to sit down and think about it. If I know John Calipari like I think I know John Calipari.
He replaces Sasha Kalia-Jones.
There he goes. It's an easy one. It's an easy call to make.
Tony Barbee saying, hold on a second. Listen up. I think the 2 words that John Calipari uses most in practice are stop, listen.
Yeah. And right now that should be a one-sided conversation. It's not a conversation. It's a speech being given from Coach Barbee to Sasha Kalia-Jones. There should be no comeback. And there won't. Kentucky, that's one of the things I've praised their team about, that they really want to please John Calipari. There's no bad body language. There's no eyes being rolled. Very coachable squad. Not everyone can say it.
We're talking about that with Cal today. He said, young guys want to please me, and that's great, but they'll be better and build their own confidence when they learn to please themselves. For more on that, here's Stormy.
Yeah, guys, I have been keeping an eye on Coach Cal as much as I can during this game, and he has at least 4 times done one of these, like, almost sit down on the bench. He doesn't fully sit down, but an almost sit. And he told us earlier today that with this group, he stands more than he ever has, almost the whole game, just so they know he's with them. He even joked and said, you know, I'm old, I don't want to stand, but that's what this team needs me to do, and he's been doing it all game.
Well, at least he hasn't gone into that exasperated plop down at the bench, which he can do sometimes between a couple of assistants. Nick Richards inside off of the offensive board.
Yeah, Richards has probably his best job of being an offensive rebounder so far in his career. I mean, he has pursued the basketball. The basketball finds energy, and Florian White has had energy tonight when the ball's above the rim.
Nice shot off the glass by B.J. Miller. Came off the bench 17 minutes a game last year. Very good option off the bench this season for Troy.
When you don't completely trust your team's energy and effort on every play, you don't sit down as a head coach. So John Calipari right now, he's almost the point guard on this team in terms of talking and coaching and being vocal every pass of every possession. He's had as much energy as a head coach this year than I've ever seen him as Kentucky's head coach in practice.
Right through the wickets. Cal might have to trade in the dress shoes for sneakers if he's going to patrol the sideline like that.
Yeah. One thing he's going to like, though, is the strong two-handed offensive boards of Nick Richards tonight. Very well done, Florian White.
Number 8, Kentucky leads Troy 59-42. Told you there are some SEC familiar names on this Troy roster, including Wesley Person, whose dad was a first-rounder coming out of Auburn. And Jordan Varnado, you remember his older brother, 2-time SEC Defensive Player of the Year, Jarvis, who still holds the all-time NCAA record for career blocks, 564, Jimmy Dykes.
I was there for probably 464 of them. And he was so good at keeping his body off of people, blocking shots without fouling. The all-time shot blocker in the history of college basketball. Think about it. There's guys on that list by the name of Tim Duncan, Alonzo Mourning, Adonal Foyle, Shaq. And this guy's older brother passed all of them, and he has struggled a little bit tonight. He's not the 6'9" that his older brother is, so the size of Kentucky has bothered him, but he can make some guarded shots, which he's had to in this game. He's a very good player. Can carve out space, gets low, understands how to operate and get angles on the inside, can drive it a little bit. Again, he comes in averaging 18 points and 9 rebounds, and so far tonight he's 5 out of 12. Kentucky's done a good job of making him make guarded shots. Kentucky they can't put Troy away. It's flip-flop. Troy now in the second half. 18 paint points. Kentucky only has 6.
Kevin Knox now with a dozen. Hey, speaking of shot blocking, talk with Jordan about it today after their shoot-around. And the idea that to be a great shot blocker, you can be unselfish defensively to come over and help your teammate. He's estimated 75% of his blocks come as the second guy coming over to help defense. That was halfway down for Baker and wouldn't fall. Here's Diallo playing it off of his shins. Gabriel found some space.
That's just a simple play. It's a high flat ball screen. You pop the guy, and Quade Green continues to take both defenders with him an extra bounce and allows Wenyen Gabriel to have a drive opportunity.
Gabriel's got a dozen points to tie Kevin Knox for team high honors. It's Kentucky by 21.
Quade Green knows exactly what he wants off this high flat ball screen, and watch his eyes right before he makes the pass. Right there, hold it. Look, he knows. He's looking at what Gabriel's going to do, and Gabriel's going to pop, and it's a great read by Quade Green to find the pop and then let Wenyen Gabriel attack on the weak side of the floor. They throw it back to the weak side of the floor, and you get a shooter in the corner, which forces that defender to make a decision, come off and help or not. Just another very poised play by the young point guard.
Quade Green out of Newman Goretti outside of Philadelphia. They had a pretty good point guard there back in the day, Scoop Jardine, who played at Syracuse for Jim Boeheim. Scoop Jardine, Rick Jackson, both Newman Goretti products who played for Boeheim, and Green left Newman Goretti as the second highest scorer in their school's history. Another McDonald's All-American. Person off the curl, knocks it down. Second triple of the night for Wesley Person.
He can shoot that ball, can he? Hasn't really shown it tonight at all, but you see the elevation and the smoothness that he shoots it with. The release is really good. His elbow gets up high, about nose level. A really pretty shot to watch.
Diallo commits his third. Points in the paint have flip-flop. And Person knocking down that three should be a big surprise. We talked a lot about his three-point prowess. Jimmy, he had a stretch as a freshman and into his sophomore season where he made a three in 61 consecutive games. Not far off if it would have been in one season from the NCAA single season record that was set by an Arizona guard on their way to the Final Four in 1987 by the name of Steve Kerr.
Well, with 9 minutes to go, it's a guy that Kentucky better keep an eye on because he can get hot in a hurry. He had 39 last year against a good Texas Arlington team off of 10 made threes. I know Kentucky has controlled this game 63-45, but number 3 in maroon is a kid that can go on a 9-0 run all by himself quickly if Kentucky doesn't stay attached.
Person, they got Knox on him now. That's some length. Baker will fire, skips off. Kentucky continues its glass dominance, plus 23 for the Cats, and they turn it right back over. Baker the touch pass. Person looking for him, stolen away by Gilgeous-Alexander. And then a reach from Person.
Against a normal-sized defender, that ball is thrown ahead by Troy, but Shea Gilgeous-Alexander with that 7-foot wingspan, and that's where people say, where's the wingspan come into play? Great example of it right there. In an open floor, 22 in white has the ability to take away a pass.
Second half, Kentucky has missed 3 shots, but they've turned it over 8 times.
This is Kentucky's version of their motion offense. Side to side, hard back cuts and dribble handoffs. And that's a very clean look by Knox out of their motion.
Well, he patterns himself after Kevin Durant. That's a pretty good stroke for the big guy at 6'9". P.J. Miller into the paint, able to get by Green.
Where was the help? P.J. Washington standing right there on the logo when the attack to the rim begins, and he bails out.
Oh, Knox took his eyes off of it. Kentucky turns it over again. John Calipari going to do a lot of teaching these last 8 minutes. 9th turnover for the Cats. Her first Kentucky game, she's seeing a good one. Cats lead 66-47. And some good young players on this Kentucky squad as we take a look at our good hands play. Brought to you by Allstate. Go figure, there's a freshman involved. It's Kevin Knox.
Got good hands and good feet. He covers about 22 feet with one bounce of the basketball, and read the defender, comes at the wrong shoulder of Knox and doesn't take away the strong right hand of number 5 in white. The long reach at the end of the rim, and kid's wired to score. And again, the challenge from John Calipari to Kevin Knox going forward is just go get us a basket 4 or 5 times a game where I don't have to call a play for you, and our good hands play was a great example of it. You know who else is seeing their first game in Rupp Arena tonight? My wife and daughter.
How about that?
Yeah, made the Thanksgiving trip with me.
Brought him up on the jet, huh?
Yeah, came up on the jet. They're going to get to meet Kentucky's cheerleaders after the game. They're more excited about that than they are watching Kentucky right now, up 66-47.
22-time national champions.
Well, yeah, exactly. That's why they're excited about it. I got all the Kentucky lowdown last night in our hotel room, and they are terrific. They are an outstanding squad, and year after year they're ranked in the preseason top 2 or 3 in the cheerleading poll.
I think I saw them in Athlon's magazine. Here's Person. Off the glass, Gilgeous-Alexander got it. And Green has it ripped away, only to find Diallo there. Jump ball, as you see the shot blocking skills of Jordan Varnado.
That was some crazy stuff happened in about 8 or 9 seconds. First of all, the crazy rebound on one end, then Diallo on the other. And Varnado is right there to eat him up. It's not easy to do that to Hamid Diallo. Man, learned something from his brother, didn't he? That was terrific.
Quick look inside. Rejected by Gabriel. Here's Diallo. And it's brought down by Alex Hicks. Hicks off the mark. He's only made 1 3 this year. Green, Gabriel. If you just watch John Calipari when Kentucky's freshmen have the ball, you can be entertained on his facial expressions alone. He said, you know, my guys are trying to figure out what I'm thinking. That's impossible. Half the time I don't know what I'm thinking.
Well, they have not valued the basketball in this half, Kentucky. Way too many turnovers. And as a head coach, you bring your freshmen in at the beginning of the year and you pull out a picture of your family and you say, listen, next to my family, this basketball is the most important thing in the world to me, and you better take care of it. And Kentucky has been sloppy with the basketball in this second half.
Youngest team in the country. Average age is just over 19 years old. Youngest in experience as well, according to KenPom.com. It's 351st in Division I basketball out of 351 teams.
Well, they had now 11, 12 turnovers in the second half alone, Kentucky. 10, 11 right in there somewhere.
Yeah, 10 in the second half.
Way too sloppy. And right now, like John Calipari told us yesterday, I thought it was great insight into his mind. He doesn't look at the scoreboard. He said he was taken by surprise in the Kansas game, that afterwards folks were telling him, what were you thinking when you were down 9 or 12 or whatever it was? He said, I didn't realize. I'm just coaching my guys one possession to the next. And right now he's not happy at all with how Kentucky has played really the entire second half. I know they have the lead, but it's not the scoreboard that he's worried about. It's how we're playing. Well, he knows what's waits in the form of Virginia Tech and Louisville and the loaded-up SEC this year.
And the postseason expectations. And meanwhile, at least part-time Kentucky postseason home saw its demise today. The skyline of downtown Atlanta changed when the Georgia Dome went under. Look over the bus, and there it goes. Catlanta changed just a little bit behind the Georgia Dome, which will be swept up and cleaned up in time for the SEC championship game, is Mercedes-Benz Stadium. That saw some action. The Cats fans are very, very familiar with.
The only facility to ever host a Final Four, a Super Bowl, and the Olympics. One of my all-time favorite games that I was ever blessed to be a part of as an announcer. SEC championship game in the double overtime. Kentucky beat Arkansas in one heck of a basketball game back in the mid-90s.
By the way, SEC tournament moving to St. Louis this season. Big time bucket there by Bernardo. He's got 13.
He can make guarded shots. And you look up, it's 5:30 to go, a 14-point lead. Kentucky has to keep playing right now. They better not back off and go into conservative mode, because I'm telling you, Person can score and Bernardo can score in flurries.
7-0 Troy run. Shot clock winding down. Shot clock at 2. And a shot clock violation. Stormy, you were listening in on Cal's huddle last time. What's his message now?
Well, you guys saw in practice this week how much they were practicing the press, and he said in that huddle that he thinks that he might want to try it out here just to see if they're doing those fundamentals that he's been working on earlier this week. So don't be surprised if you see it sometime soon.
And that could also get the energy level up for this Kentucky team.
It could, and it could also allow a person to get loose for a 3 on the back end of the press. So I know that's what John Calipari's thinking right now. Do I try my press? And that's a dangerous thing right now. This thing's down to a 12-point game, and you start pressing and allow Person to get loose at the back end of the press. And Troy's defense has been really locked in the last 2 or 3 possessions, keeping Kentucky from getting the ball to the painted part of the floor.
It's a 9-0 Troy run. Remember, the football team won in Death Valley. They knocked off LSU earlier this season. Gabriel corner, too strong. Washington ripped it away.
There was a big boy rebound by Washington in traffic.
Green is able to draw the reach in from Kevin Baker. It's Baker's 3rd. College basketball continues Wednesday on the SEC ESPN network right here from Rupp. Fort Wayne will be in town to take on number 8 Kentucky. That's 8 o'clock Eastern. It's also streaming live on the ESPN app.
It's a terrific week of basketball across the country. The Maui Invitational has potential for Wichita State and maybe Notre Dame to get into the finals. Already talked about the battle for Atlantis, that PK-80 were unbelievable field up there.
I think Kentucky might be the most elite team that wears the swoosh. It doesn't go. He's not playing in the PK-80.
You know, there's an interesting game early in that PK-80 involving an SEC team, Arkansas and Oklahoma. And Arkansas, a team that I don't think people are talking enough about right now, with Jalen Barford and Daryl Macon and Anton Beard, 3 senior guards that have won a game in the NCAA tournament. If they can get past Oklahoma, I think Arkansas can beat North Carolina in that next round. And look at the other side of the bracket. Duke and Florida will probably match up in the finals of the motion bracket, but don't be surprised if you look up and you see Arkansas playing Michigan State in the finals of the victory bracket in the PK-80.
By the way, North Carolina warming up with a trip to Stanford against one of Roy Williams' former players, Jared Haas, the head coach out there now. Joel Berry trying to come back from that hand injury was just 1 for 11 against Bucknell earlier this week.
That's one of the reasons why I say that about Arkansas, because Bucknell's a very good mid-major, picked to win their league. And Arkansas beat the dog out of them, like 30, 35 points. And Bucknell, about 4 or 5 nights later, only lost at North Carolina by, I don't know, 14, 15 points. It was a much closer game. So that's a team that you start looking at this SEC. We know about Kentucky. We know about Florida. We know about Texas A&M, Alabama. All 4 of those teams are ranked in the AP poll right now. But teams just outside that poll, like Arkansas, like Missouri, that's why this league's being talked about as 7, possibly 8 teams deep in that NCAA tournament this year. You know,
you were talking about Kentucky's great backcourt and their ability to go off last year with De'Aaron Fox and Malik Monk and put up big numbers. Yeah. Avery Johnson might have the same kind of backcourt in Tuscaloosa this year.
Find a more dynamic freshman combo in the guard spots of Colin Sexton or John Petty. I don't think they're out there. Petty already with a school record for 10 made threes at Alabama, and Colin Sexton will be a long-term, very productive NBA point guard.
Corner 3, skips off, and it's rebounded by Washington. I was in Tuscaloosa for football this past weekend. They brought up Colin Sexton's name, and they said, you know what? You want to talk about speed? This kid has De'Aaron Fox type speed. That's what we now call SEC speed on the hardwood.
Kentucky in their circle motion with Quade Green right now running the 2, and Shea Gilgeous as the 1.
Shot clock at 4. Green for 3. You like that shot?
Not at all. The ball is not getting to the paint over the last 2 or 3 minutes of Kentucky, and as a result, Troy is more than in this basketball game.
It's back to single digits. Closest since it was a 9-point game in the first half off that Baker triple. Timeout, Kentucky.
You could just feel it. You know, the energy in the building, and Kentucky playing sloppy with the ball and allowing a team that can make threes like Troy. John Calipari is concerned. He's frustrated, and right now he's coaching his tail off with Troy on a 14-2 run.
Well, Troy giving Kentucky all they can handle here. Late in the half, got 3 minutes to go. It's a Troy team that won 22 games last year. They are now finally a veteran team for Phil Cunningham after being so young the years prior. He said it was a total rebuild. We're bringing in young guys, and it was painful. But last year they started to see the fruits of their labor. They made it their second ever NCAA tournament. They lost to Duke in the first round.
Well, they're back in the ball game because their defense has been really good over the last 5 minutes. Kentucky has 0 field goals over the last 5:28 of play. And now you're allowing a Troy team that, I'm telling you, they can get hot from the 3-point line in a hurry. They're 4 out of 26 in the game, but they have taken 26 threes. That's a concern. They're getting 3-point shots off. Right now, the 9-point game with just under 3 to go.
Kentucky has missed its last 7 field goals. They also have a shot clock violation in that span. Knox spinning, jump hook, and he ends that drought.
I can tell you what John Calipari said during the timeout. If you shoot the basketball before it gets to the paint, you're coming right out of the game. Throw the ball to the paint, good things happen.
Bernardo left it short, challenged by Gabriel. Here's Green, and he'll peel it back out. So that's what was happening in the Kentucky huddle, we believe. Stormy, what was being discussed in Troy's huddle?
Yeah, I was over there, and Phil Cunningham was just telling his guys, make the big plays. Now's the time. We've got momentum on our side. And Jordan Varnado said, guys, you need to get up, rebound, started clapping his hands and said, get excited, let's go.
Green, nothing doing there. Kentucky's offensive struggles continue late in the half. Baker for 3.
Why? I mean, I know there's under 2 minutes to go, but you took a hard, bad shot in transition and didn't even give your offense a chance. Again, put it in that stat line on the box score. Bad shots taken. Give one to Baker right there.
Kentucky 1 for the last 9 from the floor. Diallo back rims it. It's an 11-point deficit for Troy. Baseline drive. They turn it over. Stolen right back. Numbers for the Trojans. Here's Baker with the whip pass. Person's going to take it to the paint. He's fouled and one.
That is a huge play in this basketball game. Kentucky had the ball in the game under control, and they get sloppy with it again. Their 11th or 12th turnover in the second half alone, and now they're playing chase instead of defense. And great ball movement by Troy to not settle for a bad shot and made the third pass and got to the rim and a chance for an and-one. If you're Kentucky, you have to be ready for the press right now. Troy has a 1-2, 1-1, 1-2-2 press that they could very well go to and should go to off the made free throw. Surprised they back it up.
Burton's got 17. It's an 8-point game. Kentucky has turned it over 16 times tonight. 17-4 Troy run. They've done it with defense.
If Kentucky just uses the entire shot clock right now without turning it over, they're going to be in good shape to finish this game off.
Cal wanted Kevin Knox to get the ball. He does, and he gets fouled on the drive. Another full slate of college football for you Saturday, including battle for the Bluegrass. Kentucky hosts Louisville at noon Eastern. Then Vandy takes on Tennessee at 4. And to cap off the day, SEC Saturday night, Texas A&M and number 20 LSU from Death Valley. Presented by Holiday Inn Express. All 3 games also streaming live on the ESPN app.
Huge games. We talked about the Iron Bowl earlier. I believe I saw that Nick Saban has never beaten Auburn when Auburn has 9 wins.
True. That's a very small sample size, though.
But it is true.
It is true.
So if you're an Auburn fan, you're clinging to that right there.
You are. Yeah, you are. He's been there 10 years. It's only been a couple times they've had 9 wins. They've had more than 9 wins before, of course. They've been undefeated going into that game.
But with all the injuries that Alabama's had, Gus Malzahn's team, you could argue, is playing the best football of anyone in the SEC right now. And they get that game in that stadium.
So you think it'll be loud?
Oh, my goodness. Calipari will have some great quotes in his post-game press conference, because this young Kentucky team did not play with a 2 hands on the throat mentality in the second half.
But that's something he's working on. He's trying to teach them. The question is, if they're still playing like this late in conference play, there'd be a concern.
There would be a huge concern, because the SEC is going to be as unforgiving this year as it has in the 20 years that I've been around it. And if you don't play the entire 40 minutes, and you look at that SEC schedule this year with the likes of Florida and Alabama and Texas A&M and Missouri and Arkansas and Ole Miss, and keep on going, and all of a sudden you're in a fight to finish 500 in the SEC.
Second front end miss for Kentucky. Baker, fancy move, no finish, and Kentucky's going to survive this one. By the way, 20 years in the league, I can't speak for everybody, maybe not your banker, but I'm happy you got the headset instead of the whistle now. Great to sit next to you.
I am too. And I thought about bringing my whistle tonight. There's times I thought I was going to have to use it with you, by the way.
That's fair. Handshakes around. Kentucky goes to 4-1. Troy in their last 6 games have matched up with Duke and Kentucky, and in both of those games they trailed early, but then they proved that they belong by settling down and competing late.
Well, I think what we saw tonight is what you're going to see from Kentucky, maybe even for the next month, because not only from game to game, but within the game, because in the first half they did a lot of good stuff. I mean, their defense was tightened down, their defensive rebounding and their offensive boards, they were secure with the basketball. And in the second half, just another team kind of showed up, and John Calipari is going to tell us all about it with Stormy.
Let's see who's grabbing whose arm. Go ahead, Stormy.
I don't want them taking all their stuff off.
Coach, you walk away with the win in this one, but went almost 6 minutes without a field goal. What were you telling your guys to reignite the spark at the end?
There are a couple things. You cannot throw your body into people and expect them to call it. They're not going to make that call. We had extra passes again. What happens, we get up, and then we got the freshman thing kicks in. I have to make the assist. I can't throw it to somebody who throws an assist. I have a shot, but the best shooter's there. I'm shooting this because I haven't shot it in a while. Teaching them that winning mentality, it's just going to take time.
Thanks, Coach. Tom?
All right, Stormy, thanks. We got more coming your way from Rupp Arena. They see another victory over a non-conference unranked opponent. We'll wrap this one up in a moment. All Cats tonight, number 8 Kentucky knocks off Troy 70-62, but got really interesting towards the end. Tom Hart courtside alongside Jimmy Dykes. It was a game that you had the feeling Kentucky could just put their hands around Troy's throat and just shut them down the rest of the way. Instead, the Trojans crept back into it.
Yeah, and that's just a part of being young. You know, there's no, and you're not going to be able to skip the process in terms of John Calipari getting his guys to understand the importance of it. It starts with one guy. Yeah. Is what John Calipari is looking for right now. It can't be him. He can't be that one guy, Tom. It's got to be, Quad A or Kevin or somebody's got to say, hey, we got to keep pounding this thing. And they allowed Troy to stay in the game. We talked about to close the game that if they don't learn that lesson and Virginia Tech and Louisville and the SEC play comes up, they're going to have to learn it the hard way, and that's not what you want to do.
Let's revisit your keys to the game from before this thing tipped off. We knew that Troy was going to come in wanting to shoot the three. Those shots just weren't falling in the first half.
No, the keys really played out like I thought it would for Troy. They needed to have a big game from the three-point line tonight. They only had 12 points from there. That's not who they are. Kentucky's length had a lot to do with it, and they just missed a lot of open shots from there as well. Not a good shooting night. They did a good job on Person, and they allowed Kentucky, especially in the first half. Kentucky was dominating on the offensive glass, and then Kentucky, their keys, chased Person all night. I thought they did a good job of it. They forced him into 2 out of 8 from the three-point line and forced Jordan Bernardo to make and take tough twos. Now, he did. He was 7 out of 11 from the two-point part of the floor, but overall, he just didn't get to do what he wants to do. Kentucky made it tough on him.
All right, so Kentucky gets Fort Wayne next, but let's spin this a little bit further than that. What does this Kentucky program and this team need to do to be able to find success in what will be a very competitive conference?
They have to get older. Like I'm talking about like next week older.
Yeah.
They're going to get better. They're better guarding the ball now than they were 2 weeks ago. They're better offensive rebounding the ball right now. John Calipari, he's driving home all the hard lessons that a young team has to learn just by going through it.
Well, step by step, and Kentucky gets another non-conference win. They're 4-1 now. Their little loss coming to Kansas. Once again, our final, Kentucky 70, Troy 62. Coming up next, it's Thinking Out Loud, presented by Regions Bank. For Jimmy Dykes, Stormy Bonatoni, and our entire SEC Network crew, I'm Tom Hart. So long from Lexington.